In 2007, 2008, the financial system came crashing down. My career was on the top brinks. I was on my way to the moon. And suddenly, in 2009, it crashed. The stock market, the New York Exchange crashed. Something that no one ever thought could happen happened. The story, the dream of me taking over Wall Street came crashing down. The story I had built up, the idea, the vision I had for my life, myself, was now on the brinks of destruction and utter disbelief. So I had to make a decision. As that time passed, the story of me becoming a financial advisor and doing great things began to change. And I believe a lot of us have came to that same crossroads in life to where something had to change. The story that we've built up, the story that we've told, now has to change. And in order for one to realize this, one must realize that there's a story. There's a story that we all have. And the question that one gets to ask, is this story? Is this story serving me? That's what you get to ask. You get to ask, is this story serving me? Just like in 2009, when it crashed, and the stock market crashed in Wall Street, I had a story in my mind of who I was. I had a story of what I was supposed to be. I had a story about where my life should have gone. And I don't know if I'm talking to anyone that has a story about their lives. I don't know if there's someone out there who has a story about what happened to them as a child, maybe a traumatic incident as an adult. I don't know. Maybe something has happened where there's a story attached to your life and it's been latched onto you for quite a while. And again, right now at this particular moment, we have to ask ourselves this biggest question about the story of our lives. I think there was a soap opera called The Story of Our Lives, or One Day of Our Lives, something like that. What is the story of your life that you'd like to tell? Is it the current story that you're telling right now? The story that you're saying right now, who you are, what you're capable of, what you can do. Is this the story that's being told? Is your day-to-day story the story of your real life, or you're really tired of this story? In order for one to break free, there has to be a realization that there's a story. There's a certain book and a verse that we're reading, that one has been reading, whether it was given to you, whether that traumatic moment happened to you. There's a story behind each and every one of us. And the question that one is faced with today is, am I going to be frustrated with the story that I have, or am I going to be brave enough to face this story and say, enough is enough. I don't want this story any longer. Now that day is magical. That is the day I wish on all humanity. That one realizes that you must break free from the story. The story that keeps you captive. The story that keeps you away from your dreams. If you want to know what's stopping you from your dreams, it's the current story I'm working on this you word, that one will replace. The story that one has about oneself must be replaced in order to have access to the new life. It's scary not knowing what's on the other side. It's scary not knowing what familiarity doesn't feel like. You're familiar with your trauma. You're familiar with your pain. One is familiar with sorrow. One is familiar with agony. One is familiar with their story, the old story. One is familiar with the old story. And I think the quest that one gets to be on, if you wish, Is it possible to rediscover a new story about yourself? Is it possible to tell a new story? Is it possible to just lay down the burdens, the misery, the pain, the trauma of the past stories of your life and pick up a new story? Each and every day you get to rewrite the chapters of your life. Our minds are like computers, right? So your brain, right, the hard part, right, that's the hardware, like the computer. Your mind is the software, right? How the software gets programmed? How do we get programmed as human beings? With the information that we have. And the information that you have is a story of your life, right? That's the programming that you have. Whether it's religion, your faith, your upbringing, everyone has a story, right? And the story of your life is the mental programming that you have. And what we don't understand is that we can get addicted to that programming. We can get addicted to feeling sad because that's what we remember. Whatever fires together wires together, right? When you keep thinking the same thoughts, your mind is going to suggest those same thoughts again. And when you suggest the same thoughts, the same feelings occur, the same life continues to be lived. So as us as human beings, one gets frustrated wondering, how can I break out of this? How can I get to another life? How can I get to the other side? Well, it's difficult to get to the other side if you're telling the same story. It's difficult to get to the other side if I'm saying and playing the same story out. So I have to change the programming in my mind, the information. So now I can consciously and unconsciously go there, right? I can start to pull from this new set of beliefs, this new way of being, this new programming. So this is about reshaping your mindset. This is what this entire podcast is about. But this episode is specifically about reshaping the way you see things and understanding that you can reshape your mind and reshape the story of your life. But in order to reshape your life, you have to reshape your story. In order to reshape your story, you have to reshape your mind. And how do you do that, Gerald? With new information. And here's how you do it. There's a story, right? And in order to change the story, here's how we do it. Because I always say, don't tell me, Gerald, listen, don't tell me whoever you are. Don't tell me that I could do something if you don't tell me how to do it. All right, so I'm going to tell you how to change the story of your life. You ready? If you got a pen and sheet of paper, get it. If you don't have a pen and a sheet of paper, go get it. This is note-taking time, right? They say write it down so you can go and retract it. Listen, when thoughts come up, when your story comes up, when that story of I'm not good enough comes up, I want you, whoever you are, to take a seat in your life mentally, and I want you to watch your thoughts as they come up, right? Whenever you think something, I'm not good enough, I'm sad, whatever it is, and just one thought at a time, I want you to grab that thought and take it captive. Hold it, right? Hold it right there. Just hold it right there. Don't breathe on it. Don't let it, I'm not good enough because my mom didn't, my dad didn't, my cousin didn't. Just as soon as you start to think I'm not good enough, grab that thought right there and hold it. Now, guess what? That thought is going to break free and it'll come back and we're going to catch it again. Every time that thought comes against, I went biblical there, but your thoughts are coming against who you want to be. Your story is coming against. So we're going to grab that story every time it comes up. Now we're going to practice that for a little while. Now, as your story wants to break free, as the old you wants to come back up and resurface, guess what we're going to start doing? You ready? Here we go. So first we're going to grab the thought captive. We're going to hold it. And then after we've practiced and learned how to grab and hold our thoughts captive, now we're going to do what, Gerald? Now we're going to replace that thought that I've grabbed and held captive. So I'm going to grab the thought, hold it captive, replace it. Grab the thought, hold it captive, replace it. Grab the thought, hold it captive, replace it. And guess what? Now, the software is being reprogrammed with what you're replacing the old information with. I'm not good enough. Yes, I am, because I'm figuring out how to be better every day. I'm not good enough. Yes, I am, because I'm figuring out how to be better every day. I'm not good enough. Yes, I am. I'm figuring out how to be better every day. I held it captive and I replaced it. I held it captive. Oh, I see the thought that wants to remind me I'm not good enough. I see you. Got it. Hold it captive, replace it. I can do all things. You're not good enough. I can do all things. Hold it captive, replace it. You've got to tell a new story in order to access the new life. We're going to reshape our thinking. Because in order to get a new life, we're going to reshape our thinking to reshape our lives. The thinking gives you access to the life. If you can't reshape, imagine the way your life could be, there's no access, because you won't believe it until you see it. You won't believe it until you see it in your mind. Hold it captive. Hold the thought captive of I can do anything I put my mind to. Hold the thought captive of I am more than a conqueror. Hold the thought captive, I can do all things. Hold the thought captive, there's no weapon formed against me. You've got to replace those thoughts that are holding you captive. Your story of who you shouldn't be, couldn't be, is holding you captive and back. One must break free from the stories that limit one's the luxury of breaking free. The story is limiting because it's only a small part of your life. That one story is not the defining moment of every story in your life. The problem that one is facing is that one has came up against a saga and pain in life, and one has taken that moment captive and said, this is me and I must take it with me and tell others about it. This is what we do as humans. We get traumatized. We take that trauma, internalize it, and we never let it go. We hold it as if it's a baby, and we nourish it, and we give it a name, and we carry it with us, and we say, look at this scar. Look at what happened to me. You want to hear about it? And every time we do that, we don't realize that we're carrying that emotion, that thought with us. Can you imagine just being ready, willing, and able to access your trauma at any moment? I'm going to say that again. Can you imagine just being ready, willing, and able to access your trauma in any moment? That's how close it is to you. To one, not to you. But that's how close one's trauma is. If you don't see it, you can call it whenever you want, like a pet or something. You could, hey, traumatic moment that happened in 1983. Come here right now. It's right there. It's right in front of you, because we've never let it go. One has internalized that moment and said, this shall be forever. Why? Why? We don't need to take it with us. It happened. It's not happening. Your trauma happened. It's not happening. The moment happened. It's in the past. Why bring the past into the present? And it's destroying the future. Which is the future is really the present moment, but that's a whole nother podcast. Why bring the past in? The past is nothing but a distraction from the present. How beautiful you are now. how far you've taken it now. I know you guys are waiting to break free, wanting to break free, but your story is stopping you. Don't allow your story to hold you captive from the rest of your life. Your story is just that, it's a story. And you have the power to change your story whenever you'd like. And here's the catch. If you need help changing your story, I'm here. How can I help? Follow the podcast because I'm here to help. Subscribe to the podcast because I'm here to help. It's hard to see around the corners. Realizing that you have gotten yourself as far as you can go is your biggest compliment to yourself. Now you can hand it off to someone else and say, hey, can we do this together? I'm really good at a CFO, CPA, a doctor, lawyer, but I really need help in this area. I've taken myself as far as I can go. Can I get a little help here? You don't have to keep telling the same story. I can help you. How can I help? Let's do it, okay? So, follow, like, share, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Amazon, Google Cast. Let's go and let's grow. Your story is just that. It's a story, and we can tell a different story. You have access to a whole new story, and we're gonna do it. Namaste, and until next time, tell a new story. I'll see you guys soon.